Hi there, Toby Lipinski for the New England edition of the Fisherman magazine, and in this week's web video fishing forecast for New England, we got updates on the Northeast striped bass tag study as well as the deployment of the first 2 tags down off of the New Jersey coast. We've got updates on the Coastal Kayak Clash. We've got striped bass in Maine, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. Updates on black sea bass, fluke, for higher updates in Connecticut and Rhode Island, and much, much more. So let's check it out.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
First up this week, I want to talk about the Northeast striped bass tag study 2020. Now, obviously with concerns over COVID-19, just about everything these days it seems like has been delayed, postponed, pushed off, and unfortunately the striped bass tag study was not immune for this, but actually only about a week and a half delayed in the end, we were finally able to get the first 2 tags deployed this week. Now, Jim Hutchinson is our New Jersey Delaware Bay editor. He was out fishing late last week as well as again this week because the goal was to put these satellite tags into to start off with 2 breeding class. So we're talking large striped bass, 40 inches plus. 2 of the striped bass, just like we did last year. Last year we got them in the mouth of the Hudson River. Jim was out late last week, Thursday. He was fishing with, Captain Frank Wagenhofer of Fin Chaser Charters, as well as Chuck Manny. They got one of the fish tagged, 46.5-inch striped bass. You can read the story right now at fisherman.com. They wanted to get another big fish on the day. Now, they had gotten some before that one they tagged. They were hoping to get into more, but as is the way it is, the bite turned off on the big fish once they got that first one. So they worked at it, worked really hard. They got some other fish, but nothing in that class that we were looking to put that second tag into. So they went back out on Wednesday. Actually, right now, as I'm filming this for you for the week, I just got an update from Jim. They got the second tag in, another 45+ inch of fish. So they came through, got the second fish tagged. You can read again the story on the initial 46.5 tagged last week right now at thefisherman.com, and I'm sure Jim is going to post an update as to the second fish as well. As I said, the first 2, we got a 45 and a 46-inch fish. They are out there swimming around. So, of course, if you find those tags, leave the tag in. You take a photo, but get that fish back in the water. We want it to continue swimming. I believe it's 5 months. Those tags collect data. So, very interesting study. And then next up, while we still don't have a resolution of the status of the 2020 Fisherman Magazine Dreamboat Fishing Challenge, we had to postpone it for the time being because with a lot of tackle shops still being closed, it's difficult to weigh in fish everywhere. So that remains on hold, not canceled, on hold for right now. But the brand new tournament, the Fisherman Magazine Coastal Kayak Clash, kicked off back on May 1st. It is going strong. Difference being, this is not a catch and kill and weigh in tournament. You can photograph your fish, and it's based on length. So you can harvest them if you want. You catch a legal fluke, for instance, photograph, enter, and then go home and eat it. No problem. But there's no requirement to enter those fish, to weigh them, at a tackle shop. So it allowed us to start the tournament off. And we have the first official update of the year. It appears online right now at thefisherman.com, as well as in the June issue. And to start things off, we have a leader posted up, Justin Oser. He is currently in first place, working his way towards winning that brand new Old Town Kayaks Sportsman Series Autopilot 136, powered by a Minn Kota trolling motor. But there is plenty of time. Things are going to get shaken up. We got a lot of spaces still available. We have been getting a ton of entries, which is awesome to see, but there's still plenty of time. This runs from May 1st to November 31st. We've got 8 different species available: fluke, black sea bass, bluefish, hardtail category, which is false albacore and bonita, sea robins, blackfish, a little bit of everything. So head on over to thefisherman.com right now. Check out the details. There's no additional fee required to participate in this tournament. You just got to be an existing Fisherman Magazine subscriber in good standing. That could be a $20 digital subscription, $29 full-on print subscription, whatever you'd like, whichever works better for you. You are automatically entered. You just got to register at thefisherman.com. So again, check out the link. Get all the details on that. Get out there and fish. All right, couple of quick notes in regard to entering fish, however, as this is year 1 for both of us, for you participating and us running it. Got to clear up a couple of things. First off, you got to include the official tag, which is downloadable at fisherman.com, in the photo. It's got to be in there at the time you take the picture, meaning you can't add it in after the fact. You can't superimpose it, any of that. Your photo's going to be disqualified. It's got to be in the photo at the time that the picture is taken, meaning you can print it out and laminate it like a lot of guys are doing and place it in. You can pull it up on your cell phone, place the cell phone next to the fish, and then take the photo. It's just got to be present in the original photo and not doctored up after the fact. Second, you only need to enter your largest fish, meaning if you go out for black sea bass, you get 3 fish. There's no need to enter all 3. We are only counting the largest entry. You're more than welcome to upgrade throughout the season. We encourage that. No problems there. But you don't need to enter multiple fish of the same species at the same time. You can, of course, upgrade, as I just said. You can enter multiple fish on different species categories, but you only need to submit that single biggest fish. Let's see. Next up, you got to make sure that your kayak is visible in the photo. We had a couple of photos, unfortunately, we had to disqualify because they were taken back at the dock afterwards. Again, you don't have to harvest the fish, but there's nothing prohibiting you from doing it. But you got to include in the photo your kayak. So best bet, take it right away. Right when you catch that fish, throw it on your measuring board. Throw the tag in, take the photo, you're good to go. If you do take it back to at the end of the day to take the photos at the dock, perfectly fine, but just make sure you do it on the kayak or it's shown somewhere in there just to confirm that you were fishing from a kayak when you did it. So again, all of the details available at thefisherman.com. You can subscribe right now. You can register if you're an existing subscriber, and you're gonna have a little note coming up here. I got a little tip on a spot where you can get on the board right now. So jumping into the reports, we're going to start off up north in Maine this week. Got an email as well as several pictures from Mike Baker. He's a guide up north with Kayak Fish New England. Now Mike's been hitting the local surf up in Maine for striped bass along with his son Ryan, and as you can see, they've been doing quite well. Now Maine is often overlooked or forgotten about, what have you, in regards to striped bass fishing, but in reality it's kind of right in between 2 big breeding groups. You've got the standard Hudson fish to the south, you've got several breeding locations up north in Canada, and you even have on I believe it's the Penobscot River in Maine, its own unique breeding class of striped bass. So some really good fishing for stripers to be had up in Maine. And speaking of which, coming up very shortly in the July issue, I believe it is, we've got an article from Jamie Golden talking about doing just that, heading on up north in Maine for striped bass. So keep an eye out for that, and I will of course let you know once that issue is available to the public. Heading down into Massachusetts, talked to Captain Jason Colby. He is back sailing along with all the other 4 hires in the Bay State, and he reports the flounder bite in and around Boston and Quincy Harbor has been excellent. There's been no giants landed just yet, but plenty of fish up to the 3-pound class, which in my book is a giant flounder. But Jason usually gets some really big fish on the season. A lot of the state pins come from his boat, so get in on that now. And of course, if you know, Jason did say he's got a couple of open boat spots still available for this spring. So if you want to check with him for availability, reserve your spot. Best way to do it is via email. His email address is fishinglsister@aol.com. Yeah, he is one of the few that still runs an AOL account, so drop him an email and check to see what he's got going on. You can also sign up to get his daily fishing reports as well to see exactly how good the bite is up there. And still in Massachusetts, sea bassing has remained very good up in Mass. I was actually talking to Charlie Soares, Massachusetts field editor for the Fisherman magazine going back into the 70s. Sorry to date you there, Charlie, but you've been a long-time family member of the Fisherman. He and I were talking on Sunday, as we so often do with the fishing reports, and we jumped right into talking about the sea bass. He said it's so good. One of his trips recently, messing around with a new rig somebody had gave him, put his jig on the bottom and was running 3 teasers up above for the first drift, dropped it down. Within moments, he had 4 keeper sea bass on one rig. So that's very efficient. He said later on in the day on another drop, he had 3 on that same rig. So plenty of sea bass up there. A buddy of mine, Chris Keckler, said that he was out recently. He checked in to confirm on that sea bass bite going strong. He was working on the kayak, as he so often does, his daughter Haley, as well as a friend Cole. They absolutely loaded up on some big biscuits to 4.5 pounds and undoubtedly had a good time off the kayak getting some mega keeper sea bass. That's awesome. And that's my tip for you. If you are fishing, participating in the Coastal Kayak Clash, might not be a bad idea to either trailer up or throw that yak up on your truck, your car, and get up to Massachusetts Buzzards Bay and get in on the sea bass. I'm sure a lot of those sea bass entries that we have received have been from up there. I know a couple of my buddies here in Connecticut who are subscribers who are participating even told me that's what they're doing right now. They're heading up there, and you're going to get some big porgies. You can even get some fluke mixed in. You can get some sea robins, what have you. So that's a good way to get a jump on the Coastal Kayak Clash leaderboard right now. And then moving on down into Rhode Island, got an update on for-hires. As of June 1st, restrictions on for-hire and party boat fishing has been eased a bit. Out-of-state anglers can get out and fish. Those boats, there's more, they have regulations finally is how many the people can sail on the big boats. And what we've been doing, because it's confusing. Honestly, off the top of my head, it's difficult to recall state by state by state what's going on. So what we have at fisherman.com, from Massachusetts to Maryland right now, updates on for-hire charter boat fishing status for you. And what we're doing is, as things develop, as they did with Connecticut this week, as you'll see in just a moment when I get to that, we are updating. We're leaving the old info, updating it, letting you know as of May 25th, it's this. Oh, updated June 1st, what have you. So it's a very good asset to continue to check back on, and I'll give you a heads up whenever we do have changes and developments. And speaking of that, with that ease of restrictions in Rhode Island for out-of-state, as well as a capacity limit on the bigger boats, the Francis fleet finally began sailing for fluke this week. They got out on June 1st. They started fishing off of the beaches. They said there wasn't a lot of activity, but every single fish that they hooked was a keeper. So that was a good start, but they were looking for a little bit more action. So they shot out by the island, started fishing around there where there's been some big fish and some decent bites already on the private side. And they said by the end of the day, they had over 24 keepers on the boat, a good number of shorts. I'm sure they had some throwback black sea bass, as in Rhode Island, the season is not open until the end of the month. They plan to sail every single day that weather allows. Now, it's a little bit windy here today, so they weren't able to get out on Wednesday, but they plan to sail any day otherwise that they can. But with the restrictions due to COVID, it's reservation only. You're pretty much going to have that for all of the party boats right now. So with the Francis fleet, if you want to get your spot reserved, go to the www.francisfleet.com, or of course you can give them a call at 401-783-4988. Book your spot, reserve your place, and that way also they can let you know if the trip is canceled last minute for any reason. But it is by reservation only. You cannot just show up at the boat. They've got special restrictions on deck space, who you can be around, accessing the boat, getting on the boat, getting off. Just check it out, talk to them. Everybody is trying to do their best to get you out fishing while still staying safe. And there's been a pretty good run of schoolie striped bass in South County beaches and breachways for a few weeks, but now with the restrictions on travel being opened up in Rhode Island, out-of-staters are starting to get in on it. I talked to a couple of my friends that actually got down there just last night and got into some decent fish. I got an email from Mark Zabawa. One of his coworkers, Linda DeCrescenzo, got her first striped bass of the season recently. A nice schoolie landed, I believe, deciphered from the photo at Weekapaug Breachway. I actually talked to a friend who lives down there over the weekend, and he said he had a ton of hits in Weekapaug one night when he was throwing large weighted sluggos. Only landed one small fish, so he figures it was a small fish hitting at the sluggo, wasn't able to get it in, but some good action and activity nonetheless. Moving on down to Connecticut. As I mentioned a minute ago, we got an update with for-hires for Connecticut. Finally some guidance on the large boats. Basically effective June 1st. State of Connecticut allows charter fishing, head boat, party boats to operate with capacity limits set based on one angler per 6 feet of rail space that the boat has. So obviously they'll determine this for you, the boat in question. This applies to head boat, party boat, tour boats, charter fishing, sport fishing, a little bit of everything. So again, the same link that I had from earlier, you can hop on and check that out. We got all of the updates for what's going on for this week with Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, all the way on down through Maryland. So we've got that all covered for you. And again, continue to check back. We're going to post it as things change. Speaking of those for hires in Connecticut getting out, Captain Greg of the Blackhawk jumped on this news and sailed on June 1st, making a run across to Peconic Bay, where the fishing has been lights out by anyone that has been getting over there. Private boaters have been reporting excellent porgy fishing over in Peconic Bay. Now already since then, getting right onto things, Greg said they've had limits, boat limits, that's 30 fish a person of those jumbo porgies with ease. They're continuing to sail every single day that the weather allows. They had actually a night bluefish trip scheduled for Thursday night, which sold out almost instantly. These are awesome trips. I actually did a story on the trips over there, the night bluefish with Greg a couple of years ago. It's at thefisherman.com. But again, just like in Rhode Island, reservation only. So what you can do right now, if you want to get out with Greg or any of the other boats, you can obviously head to their websites or give them a call. For Greg and the Blackhawk, it's www.blackhawksportfishing.com. You can check availability as well as book your seat or your spot at the rail going forward. Striper fishing in Long Island Sound. It seems to be a little off so far. I'm hoping things are just behind a little bit and it's not just straight up a sign of the poor fishery. But nonetheless, there's been small fish around, but I'd say in the last week, I've gotten some better reports coming through. I got an email from Sammy Ovaska. He checked in late last week, said he's been doing really well in New London County fishing from shore. Now, the key to his fishing, he's been finding bunker, and there's been striped bass and bluefish working the bunker in the afternoons, in the evenings. Most of the stripers that he had been finding were in that mid 20-inch class to about 30 inches, but he said he did see a 38-inch fish caught and released one evening. Again, remember, slot limit in effect for striped bass. That means 28 to 35 inch. That's the only range you can keep. Less than 28, it's got to go back. Over 35, it's got to go back. There's also been some big bluefish mixed in, he said. And those blues have been 30 to 35 inch fish. He kept a couple for the smoker. I got a couple of pictures texted over to me this week from a couple of surf friends of mine where their eels were getting chopped up. So I got to say, a lot of people don't like when a blue's around, but I am happy to hear that they have arrived already. Of course, I might be singing a different tune in 2 months after dealing with them, but for now, I'm still happy to hear that they are around. I also talked to Captain Tom Clapsadle as he and his son Mitchell did some bassing over the weekend. Mitchell took delivery of his brand new boat, so they did a little shakedown run on it, bounced around a couple of spots in the Niantic Waterford area, started off fluking, then switched over dragging wire for stripers, and they landed a handful of good-sized striped bass, caught and released them up to 43 inches. So that's an awesome father-son duo right there getting in on the bass. And next up, also heard from Keith Tanner, sticking that father-son combo. Sent me a really cool photo of a good-sized striped bass landed by his son, 8-year-old Henry, while they were fishing from shore in the lower Connecticut River recently. I'm pretty sure I know where that spot is, but I'm not going to burn it on you. But it's a good little place nonetheless. Those of you who see the picture know where it is. Now, I met up with Keith and Henry this past winter at the fishing show at Mohegan Sun, signed up for their subscription to the Fisherman magazine, and they got their Savage Gear mackerel stick bait, and apparently Henry is psyched to get his first striped bass of the season on that, so good luck. I want to see a photo when you do finally succeed. Continuing striped bass in the lower river, Matt Kramer also hit the river this week. He got out with his son and his daughter. They fished with my buddy Captain Joe Diorio, worked the lower river stretch and got into a bunch of striped bass to the low 40-inch class. Now, I've been hearing there's a lot of stripers in the lower river right now. There's sporadic pods of bunker, but there's a lot of bluefish. Like I had mentioned a minute ago, in eastern New London County, those same bluefish are in the lower Connecticut River. So hopefully they're going to ball up those bunker and keep things here for us for a while. And then heading out of the river going west, buddy of mine, John Frione, talked to him the other day. He was drifting live bunker with his buddy Polly outside of Clinton. He said they got about a dozen bunker to start off, head out deep, about 80 feet of water, dropped them down, got into a really good bite. Biggest fish of the day was a 50-incher that they caught and, of course, released with the slot restrictions right now. So just goes to show there are some bigger fish moving into the mid-sound. Speaking of big fish, I've been talking to Max down at Fisherman's World quite a bit lately. Western Sound always gets the first push of bass. Max usually gives me the heads up when things have begun to move my direction, and he said that they are moving east. Obviously, we just had that 50-inch fish, but Max and Lauren got out recently. There's been word of mackerel in the Sound, as well as, of course, the bunker schools, and that was the key. They got onto some of that bait, and they were live lining bunker and got a bunch of fish to the mid 40-inch class, caught and released by the both of them on a couple of trips. It wasn't just one and done. A couple times Max and Lauren got out and got into some good fish. So while I like to see the two of you are getting into something over in the Western Sound, I hope that they are pushing east nonetheless down to my section of the ocean. All right, well, there you have it. Of course, we got a lot going on this week, and there is plenty more. And as always, if you plan to head out and fish this weekend, be sure to start off your trip by visiting fisherman.com.
Steigercraft boats, built by people who fish our waters. Serious anglers choose Steigercraft for their 40 years of boat building experience right here in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. Visit steigercraft.com for a dealer near you.